with the mission of making AI available to all developers. AI Camp have grown to over 50,000 tech engineers in the group, have hosted over 300 local tech meetups, workshops, and boot camps, and the large tech conferences. We have local study groups in the major cities in the US, a few cities in Europe, India, China, and Australia. You can take a look at the website to see our upcoming tech talks, workshops, and crash courses that we offer. So here's all the events we have for the upcoming weeks. Next Monday, we will live stream an event about deep learning for recommendation system. And on January 12 and 13, we will have a 2-day immersive training in San Francisco on deep learning in action by a data scientist manager at Apple. And on January 26 and 27, it will take place in Seattle. So buy the ticket before December 21st to enjoy the 50% off. Most importantly, we will have our AI NextCon Seattle conference from January 23rd to 26th. So it will be a 4-day conference. We will have 50 plus tech lead speakers, 60 plus tech talks, 6 workshops, and code labs. So you will meet lots of great people. It's time to learn and to build up your connections. So please check out our website for more details. I know there's like lots of information to take away, but there's more coming. So back to our main topics today, which is build your first AI-powered chatbot. So we are very excited to have Sreta from Oracle team. Also John and Pranita. I hope I say the name right. So in this talk, we will learn the introduction to different conversational interfaces and to build a typical chatbot and best practice. You will then design the conversation flow, connect the chatbot to a backend APIs, and expose the chatbot in Facebook Messengers. So make sure you have your Facebook installed. Without further ado, let's welcome the Oracle team. You guys can share the slides when you're ready.
Thank you, Mika.
No
Hello,
problem.
everyone. This is Sveta Patel from Oracle AI Product Management team. My colleague Don is also on the bridge, and my colleague Pranita is also on the bridge, and we will be helping you today, walking you through a chatbot building exercise. Let me go ahead and share. Pranita, I think I'm going to steal the sharing from you.
Yes, I can just stop sharing now, and then you can share your screen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a workshop on chatbot development. Fundamentally, what is a chatbot? A chatbot is an interface that enables a conversation between a user and a system. What this means is in the past, so far in the industry, we have seen different types of interfaces, starting from, obviously mechanical wiring to keyboards, to mouse, to mobile interfaces. And every stage there has been an enhancement towards the naturalness of how humans like to communicate among each other, like a human-to-human interaction. A chatbot is this new frontier from that point of view, where it gives a voice conversation and also a natural language interaction to that interaction between the human and a machine, right? So I'm assuming everyone here is at least well familiar with the basic idea of what a chatbot is from that point of view. Okay. So what I'm going to go through is a basic architecture of what a chatbot entails. So this, as the Oracle team likes to call it, a body plan of a chatbot platform. So these are the fundamental pieces that go into building a chatbot to enable that interaction between the human and the machine. To start with, excuse me, to start with, we have a utterance processor. What this would be is a unit that processes the user inputs or utterances, be it given by voice or by text, by typing, or even by selecting options. This processor would take in that input and try to make an evaluation out of it to understand what is it that the user actually wants to do, or what is it that the user is saying. To further make analysis of that utterance, there are two very critical units in the architecture that play a very significant role. One is, as you can see up on top over here, the intent classifier, and the second is entity processor. An intent is basically a action or a intention that a user has to make the chatbot do something, right? It's either, it could be as simple as just a question, or it could be something like, hey, transfer some money, or order me a pizza, or something like that, where ordering is an intent or transferring money is an intent. So that's what an intent classifier would extract out of a user utterance. An entity would be something that is, excuse me, not something, values that would be useful or that are needed to complete an intent. So in the example of order a pizza, ordering is an intent, but pizza size or crust or topping, these type of information would be entities, because that is what gives the specifics around what exactly does the user want for that particular intent. I am not looking at the chat. Don, I'm assuming you're helping me out awesomely in responding to chats.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Don, do pause me if folks provide some feedback that I'm going either too fast or things are not making sense, please.
Yeah, well, no, people are just responding where they're dialing in from, so all good right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Don, so much. I appreciate your help. All right, so given the basics of what happens first to an utterance, the first thing we do is we classify intent, and we then process what entities are needed to complete that intent. Expanding further on this conversation, there is something called a dialogue processor. So a dialogue processor is it's a very fundamental concept, like a dialogue flow. So when a human-to-human conversation goes on, a user starts out with a question or a sentence, and then there is usually a response back from the other person, and then there is a flow of dialogue that starts out, right? So, for example, in this particular case, a user would say, I want to order a pizza. And the chatbot would respond back saying, sure, what kind of pizza would you like? And if they have pre-configured options, they would say, hey, we have these type of pizzas, which kind would you like? Or it can be an open-ended question that, hey, what kind of pizza would you like? And the user responds to saying, I want a cheese pizza, or do you have pepperoni pizza? Or do you have any specials? These type of interactions is what's called a dialogue flow. And there is a specific conversational design algorithm that runs in parallel to just processing the user input, that identifies what should be the next response the chatbot should be providing to the user to help them achieve that intent that they are trying to get to. So that's what a dialogue processor would be. There's all kinds of papers and all kinds of research going on in this to make this conversation between a chatbot and a user as seamless and as natural or human-like as possible. In our case, in this exercise, we will basically go through what the Oracle Digital Assistant platform actually has to offer, and you guys will see how flexible it is to design a good dialogue flow between a chatbot and the user. The next thing is, so we have a dialogue framework created, but what about the actual systems that truly perform the action? For example, ordering pizza, surely there's there's a backend system that needs to complete the order, or to even pull the information of current specials or options of the menu, etc. Right? So we have that's what we call a backend framework. And the moment a user in this example clicks on or says, place an order or get me a pepperoni pizza, the call to the backend framework needs to happen to make that action actually complete. And so this is our framework, where we have the components that can be tied with through API calls or however different types of integration into the backend databases and systems. Now coming to the front end of this messaging, right? The entire chatbot, if you look at the body plan, this whole section here, excuse me, I can't highlight, this entire section here, which is intent to utterance and entity and dialogue processor, this is more of the central neuron of the chatbot. The backend framework is really the backend, as it says, of the chatbot, where it relies on a transactional infrastructure or a database infrastructure to help it with the information and support its action. And then the front end is the interface that actually is shown to the user, right? So this could be something as simple as a messaging application, or a very simple voice interaction. Of course, something like a Echo or a Google Home, Apple HomePod. These are just voice interfaces that could be part of the front end interface, right? So that's what this module does. And then, of course, end of the day, we have the user. So with this framework in mind, let's jump right into the lab. I will go through the instructions on how you guys can download the lab material, and then I'll walk you guys through on how to get started with the lab. I'll show you the initial documentation, and then, of course, you guys please start in parallel, and then we'll switch actively onto the chat interface to support any questions you may have. So I'm assuming everyone has their laptop and everyone has Wi-Fi access, of course. The lab files are in this link here, the bit.ly scbot labs. You will see a zip file, and in fact, I could probably click on it and show you. Give me a second. This is what the drive looks like. And so please go ahead and download the lab zip files. You will see a whole bunch of supporting lab files that are needed while you go through the chatbot building exercise. And you will also see a document, and this is your instructions on how to follow through the lab. And I'll go back to the presentation, of course, for folks to take a look at this. Do you guys want me to copy and paste this in chat window? Would that be useful?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, a couple of people requested that, Sweta.
Okay, great. Awesome. There we go. So that's one link right there for downloading Collateral. The second link, once you are done with the download, this URL is actually to access the lab, the instance of Oracle Digital Assistant. So this is the platform where you're going to be building your chatbot. And let me put that in the chat window as well. But before you get started with this URL, I do have to give you important information on what the user ID needs to be. Password is very common. Password is common for everyone, but user ID. We've created a sample set. A set of users over here, but it's kind of hard to distribute online to individual users. So the best mechanism we thought is go ahead and use your birth date, right? XX would be basically user 25 or user 10 or 30 or whatever your birth date is. Go ahead and use that. That at least gets you a unique user ID. And within that, when you go into the lab here, the lab will request you to, excuse me, let me move this chat window because it's hiding some critical information. The lab will request you to create a name for your chatbot. And we request that please put a unique number and maybe your initials. So that way, even if there are multiple people that are using the same user ID, you're not overwriting on each other's chatbots. Hopefully that was clear. If you guys want me to repeat that, let me know. Okay, I think someone on the chat window is asking, so what to do with the first download? Just go ahead and download the documents that you have onto a section in your directory, because you will be needing that collateral throughout when you're building the chatbot. And Don just gave you the bit.ly for that as well. I'm just going to wait for folks to catch up because I know I gave out a lot of information. So let's take it a little slow.
It's a slightly different challenge when you can't see everybody's progress in a room like last time.
I know. I agree. Invalid user and ID. Are you trying to sign in to the second link to the lab URL? Yes, second link. Okay, so second link. Here's the thing. Use user and then a number. I don't know. Tell us what user ID you picked, please. And then this is the password for it. Oh, right. Sorry for the confusion. Our name is more for when after you sign in and when you try to create the chatbot. Password is AuraBot. Let me go ahead and paste it here. Okay, sounds like it's working for a few folks. So, and I'll still give it a couple more minutes for others to catch up on before I give further instructions. Hey Don, someone was getting a 404 error. Did you see that?
Yeah, I just repasted the link in.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sounds like it's beginning to work for folks, so that's good. So one more, so for everyone who has already logged in to the URL, now please pause for a minute and just hear me out. There is another, to enable your client application, to run the client application, you will need a Node.js, and that if you don't already have it on your machine, that installation usually takes a little bit of time. So please go ahead, go to this Node.js site and start a parallel download as well. And I will repeat this information. So for everyone who has logged in to the URL, please also start a Node.js installation. I just pasted the link in the chat window, just because it takes a little time for the installation to complete. you will not need this until all the way towards the end of the lab, but just to parallel process, we're requesting you to start the installation on that right now.
Yeah, and just to sort of reset the overall approach here, because I'm seeing some questions that this might help.
Sure.
When we get to the, when we download the PDF file, that is literally a step-by-step set of instructions that will walk us through everything from logging in to creating intents to creating some entities to building a very simple bot. And the way the lab works is it incrementally adds more and more functionality. So as Swetha just said, for example, toward the end of the lab, we're actually going to hook up our chatbot to a mocked up backend service that will retrieve balance information from a faux bank API. So what I'd recommend, because I've seen this a couple of times in the lab sessions, is really, try to follow the documentation in the order that it's presented. Skipping around will really confuse people.
That's a very important point, Don. Thank you. I think what we should do is, okay, apologize for that. What we should do is also show the document and kind of just talk about what what the 7 labs look like. So, all right, let's see. So I'm assuming, of course, everyone can take a look at my screen real quick from what you guys are doing. This is what the document looks like. And these are the files that we just downloaded from the download page. The labfiles.zip includes that. And these are the beginning of the 7 labs. The first lab is really more a orientation of where things are in the Oracle Digital Assistant UI. So it basically shows you, where to start building the skill, where an intent icon is, and where the entity filling is, and things like that. So it's really more of a getting you guys familiar, and it's really the clicking and the actual actions start in lab 2. So I just wanted folks to know that, because if you start clicking on this, you will feel a little lost. So just take a look at everything that it's showing you. It's sort of like an orientation. And then the second one is when you actually start adding intents and entities and get into the action of building the lab.
Yeah, you'll definitely want to have the PDF file available maybe on a second monitor or a split screen or Alt-Tab to be able to refer to it. For those of you who have logged into the instance of the platform, it will make a lot more sense once you sort of start at the beginning of the PDF file and understand how to create a new chatbot, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm just keeping the presentation screen on because that has the links and valuable information. Someone's asking for UID. This is UID is right here. So that is user, and then you can do user and choose like a number, a random number, or your birthday. Oh yay, somebody's created a rainbow. You don't see a PDF file. When you went to the download, it should have looked like, let me see. The download should have looked like something like this. There is a lab zip, and then there is a PDF. There are two items to download over there, if you're looking at my screen, guys. So the second download is the PDF.
I don't know, Sweta, if there's any other way to share these files. We have at least one user who can't get to the Google Drive because it's blocked on their work computer. I don't think there's a way to do that through Zoom, is there? You know?
I don't think so.
Hey, Don, do you know how large is the what's the size for the file?
Bear with me 1 second, I'll tell you.
I mean, if not too large, maybe I can upload to the Slack channel, because that I'm going to be easier to distribute.
The PDF is 4 megabytes, and the zip file is 6 kilobytes.
Oh, okay. That should be pretty small. Let me download it, and then I will send to them.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, it seems this is going to be mostly mostly a chat conversation. The bridge is going to be fairly quiet for most of the steps. Lab 2. Someone says this is a tour. How do we get out of the tour? That's, I'm assuming what you mean by tour is in the lab 1. If you clicked on take me there on the URL itself, then you can basically see a hamburger icon. Actually, I should show that to you guys. Give me a second. Pardon me, let me log into my own instance first. I think all of us are hitting the server at the same time, so it's acting up a bit. Let's see. All right, okay. Okay, so if you clicked on some, this is the homepage of what the once you log in, this is what it will look like. If you click on Take Me There, then yes, that is the tour. The way to get out of that is this is called a hamburger icon, at least so we like to refer it. So if you click on that, you will see under the development tab, you will see bots, and so get to that, and then you can actually create like a new bot over here. Hopefully that helped the previous question. I think there's many other questions in between, and there's a tour. Someone says they're not able to log in. Is that on the on this lab URL that they're not able to log in? Did they use? For no. URL for creating account. Sure. I think the URL is getting lost in the chat. There's no way to save the URLs, right? Because I know folks can't really. You guys, if you can't find the URLs anywhere in the chat, just unfortunately, please just hand type it if you don't mind over here. And yes, of course, we can keep pasting them because I don't see any other better way to share that. Don, do you have any ideas? Oh, in Q&A.
Yes, that Q&A. Oh.
All right. Well, we learned something new. Thank you, sir. Let me see. I will also give you the URL for Node.js. And just in case, here's the URL for the lab download. Oops, that won't work.
Oh, by the way, I had a question. So for the user ID, it's just a user with two number digits. Any number digit should be fine, right?
That is correct. Any two number digit should be fine, and then you just use the password.
The password. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, all we're trying to do is reduce any conflicts of people inadvertently overwriting each other's bots by distributing different, randomly different user IDs.
Someone asked if the PDF and lab files are for detailed instructions on how to. Yes, that is correct. The PDF is the detailed instructions on how to build, and the lab files, the .text, are the supporting material that you will be importing at different stages of building intents and entities and custom components. Someone is asking, where should I create my username? Username is really just needed for you to log into the URL. So the PM hands-on lab 1 URL, which is what you will need to access to start building the chatbot. That's where you it will prompt you for username, and that's where you're gonna put user and then some two number digit that is maybe your birthday or whatever random two number digit you want to use. Somebody tried to use followed by some random number. That's what you provide, but keep saying invalid username and password. Did you make sure that it's only two numbers? It will not take user ID will not take any more than two numbers. Someone cannot access our lab link. I think there is also an alternative where it has been, excuse me, it has been shared in a Slack channel. So if you want, you can just get that lab collateral from there instead. I don't see a reason why that would be, you wouldn't be able to access. Are you getting like a specific error?
Unfortunately, I think some people may be blocked getting to Google Drive.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. So yeah, there is an alternative Slack channel that that we can that you can take that from. Don, you said user 33 and then password or a bot, and you're not able to do it. Try a different number, please. I don't. Don, do you have any ideas why he's not able to log in?
No, I put user 33 so that you could copy paste from the chat window and see if that worked.
Oh, it's you. I'm sorry.
That would work for me. I just picked a random 2 characters. And I'm looking up that lab 2 step 17 question. Give me just 1 second.
I believe there are less than 100 attendees on this bridge.
Yeah, again, it doesn't matter if people use the same user ID. It's just we're trying to reduce the possibility of people creating the same named bots for a given user.
Yeah, we should be
So
able to
it's
support.
okay if we have overlap.
Yeah, yeah, and we should be able to support 100 plus attendees. I don't think it's a concern.
Actually, I think that's probably one of the issues because we have more than 100 joined today.
That should be okay because we're giving. I mean, a few folks might be using the same user ID.
Yeah. So that's why. Some of them probably going to be duplicated.
Yeah. So it should be okay. I don't see that as a challenge. Someone keeps getting invalid username and password. Did you put user and then a two-digit number? I don't know. Try user 50 and then AuraBot 2019 password. Hey Don, you're getting compliment on your voice, buddy. Awesome.
I'll have them call my agent.
Yes, please go ahead and start going through the labs.
So, so in case two people using the same user ID, I guess they just log on the same account, I guess.
Yes, they can, and that should be okay.
Okay, because I'm still thinking they're very likely there are 2 or 3 people using the same user.
Yeah, and that's perfectly all right. The only thing is when you go into
the name can be different.
Yes, make sure that the name of the chatbot is different, with your initials and some random number, and
that should be fine. Okay,
so
got it.
you guys are okay. I would suggest though, when you create your chatbot name, do make sure you know what it is and you can find it, because if you for some reason exit out of it and if you go back in there, you'll probably need to search for that name, because by now I'm sure there are quite a few chatbots in it. It might just be cumbersome to scroll through to find your bot. That's all. Yeah, if you guys, unfortunately, because this is a virtual meetup, please go ahead and walk through the labs at your pace. You don't necessarily need to wait for us to indicate that let's get transition from lab 1 to lab 2. Only because it's virtual and it's easier. We'll try and do our best to support everyone that are at different stages in their labs, and it's perfectly all right. We should be able to help everyone.
Yeah, and further to that point, I'm anticipating we'll start getting more questions when we get around lab 3, which is where we start actually modifying the specifying and modifying the dialogue flows, and start working with the YAML. So that will probably generate some more questions. But for those of you wondering, go ahead. Intense entities, labs 1 and 2. I would recommend going ahead with those, as they're very similar sorts of tasks.
Yeah, and I think things will, as Don mentioned, things will get a little more involving lab 3 onwards, specifically when you do the cut and paste of the code, like all of those instructions when it tells you to cut and paste the code, do make sure that the alignment, the spacing alignment in the code is maintained, because those are some of the most common errors we've seen, where the alignment is not right, and that's why the validation of the code fails. Read the PDF first. Lab files are really just supporting collateral that you'll be importing into the chatbot platform. Yes, the PDF contains the step-by-step instructions. And lab 1 in the PDF, it is not instructions for you to start building. It is instructions to show you where everything is and what everything looks like in the digital assistant platform. Oh, yay, someone validated the first chatbot. Awesome. Unfortunately, for this chatbot, we do not have a voice interaction enabled. This chatbot is really going to work with a text interface only for now. I see, Don, you just responded. Thank you. But what you can do is you can continue to play with it in, even outside of this lab if you get very comfortable. And if you want to tinker further, you could integrate it with one of the, extended voice interfaces. It'll just be through custom components and things, and you'll have to do a little bit of integration there, but you can actually continue to work with it like that and enable a voice interaction.
Might be nice at some point to see what page in the PDF file folks are on, so we can get a sense of where we are overall as a group. People want to just chime in, that would be helpful. Okay, excellent. 19, boy, somebody's a speed reader.
All right, yeah. Oh, great. Thank you. Someone says they got it trained too. Awesome.
Perfect. Okay. Good. People are cruising right along.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you guys want us to show you guys something in the PDF or walk you guys through specific sections in the PDF, let us know and we can try and do that. Sashi, which steps are you referring to? We'd be happy to show you the steps, so let us know. Gayatri said she's unable to create intent. Let's see. Excuse me.
No, excuse me, it definitely should save more than one utterance. Absolutely. That's the utterances are the training data that we're using to build our machine learning model. So it has to be able to save more than one. The UI in this version, and this is actually a little bit older version of the platform, the UI, in my experience, is a little bit, this is one area where you might inadvertently be typing the utterances into the description field. Yeah, if you go to add intent there, Sweta, if you would, please.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a filter. I'm sorry, the filter field is what I meant. Make sure you're typing it in that large box in the example section at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, ignore the filter. Thank you, Don. That's a good one. And let's see.
The tab order is a little bit wonky there.
Yeah. So
for page 21, let's check.
So for intent creation, you can add multiple utterances over here. So you can basically say, what type of help? If I can type.
We've got a bug in our lab, Sweta.
What's going on?
Let me see if it's going to be a problem. On page 21, we go from 1 to 7. Okay, it's just a numbering issue. The instructions are still correct.
Page 21.
Yeah,
right.
We're going to go from training right to testing. The enter is the somebody asked, can I comma separate the multiple utterances? It's enter to input each utterance. I'll test that. I don't believe you can though.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, we messed up. Thank you. Good catch. We messed up on the numberings, but the steps are still the right set of steps. For resource bundles, it's basically just showing you that you can add additional resource bundles like translators and things like that if you need, but it doesn't. You don't need to do anything for it right now. It's kind of just telling you. I think step 8. Sorry, pardon my scrolling, guys.
I think. Luell, you're saying you're on step 17. Is that, if that's page 13, go to page 14. There's an unfortunate row break in that in the PDF. The header is on page 13, and then the actual date is on page 14. And Mike, are you able to, can we post the Slack channel to see if Mike can get to the Slack channel to get the files? He can't get to the Google Drive.
So he still have the trouble to get a file?
Yeah, he says he can't access the Google Drive. So he really needs the whole zip file. Mike, the first spot intents, or the lab files are much more than just the first bot intense CSV file. So you'll need to get that entire zip file.
My Zoom chat window seems to be broken, so give me a second, guys, before I come back. Okay, login worked. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a good question on the trainer HT. So when you guys get to the train, step, you will see 2 pull-down menus, and let me try and go to the UI to show you. Give me a second. If you go into the train, if you click on this train icon here, you will see two different training models that we have as of right now in our platform. So go ahead and use Trainer HD because that is a linguistic-based model and it works best with small set of data. And for the purpose of this lab, the type of utterance data that we have is pretty small, obviously. And so this model will actually work very well with it. Typically, the direction we provide to users is when you start out building your chatbots, when you have limited set of utterance and training data, use linguistic-based model to train. As and when you expose your chatbot and you start getting a volume of new training data, you can retrain the model using the ML-based to achieve higher accuracy results. Okay.
Yeah, and the reason for that, for those in this group, probably many of you who are interested, is that when we start getting to use the machine learning based model, we need more utterances. And what we found is that until you get a bot live, or until you do things like look at your live chat logs, for example, getting an understanding of the way your customers or your users are actually going to interact with your bot is not as easy as it sounds. So what we do is we say, for the early, sort of development days, when you're going to ask things like, I want to order a pizza, or what's my account balance, we call those sort of synthetic utterances because we're making them up. What we typically do is use the linguistic model, create some synthetic utterances, test our bot, get it working, and then once we turn it on and start realizing how people are actually going to interact with the bot, we start using the machine learning model. It's quite a powerful sort of combination in the bot development realm, actually. Boy, Mike, you're blocked on Slack too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe go to a Starbucks with your phone.
I think our team is emailing them. So, Sashi, if you're struggling with certain steps, and if you want me to, or Don and I to actually go through those specific steps, tell us which lab you're in, and we can try and walk you through those. What I said about the ML model is when you have a volume of utterance or volume of training data, like a large volume in the gigabytes and north of that, that's when you can try and use the machine learning model to retrain your chatbot so that you can achieve higher accuracy levels. When you have a small set of utterance data, like what we're doing in the lab right now, which is basically just a handful of probably at the max kilobytes, go ahead and use the TM model, which is the linguist-based, because that will be possibly easier to achieve accuracy. Unable to modify intent, name, and utterance. Let's see. So if you click on an existing intent, go back to the intent tab, and if you click on existing intent, you should be able to modify it over here. Don, will you do me a favor? If you're able to, can you get to that step 14 for create button? I don't want to scroll through the, it's probably sore to people's eyes for me scrolling through the document.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at that right now. Sui, what is the step 14? What's the page in the PDF, please?
Gayatri, I'm assuming you were able to modify the intent name.
And we want to use the trainer HT, the top option. And so I see you're at page 2. Bear with me. Page 12, right, sorry. The create button will show up when you add a new entity. So you'll first do add values, and you're adding values, you're adding examples to the particular entity. Could you show a entity, go to the entities menu, please, Sweat? There you go.
Sure. And then
so we go plus entity. And we want, in this case, a value list. That's right. And then you click on plus value. And there you'll see the create button.
So, and when you, synonyms are basically just variations of that value that you want them to be recognized. So for example, if it's sample, then you want samples, or even if you want an abbreviation, you know, you can add over there, and those abbreviations will be recognized as that entity value in during the dialogue.
Yeah, entities at first can be a little bit confusing because there's a cascading sort of relationship that exists. What you do is you create an entity, like for example, account type. And then you create specific values of that, like checking and savings and home equity. And then for each of those values, for example, checking, what you may see is that your users type in CHKG or something like that. And you want the entity extraction in the bot platform to be able to recognize CHKG as a synonym for the word checking, which is one of your values for the account type entity. And this is an attribute of all chatbot platforms, by the way. They talk about entities, values, and synonyms. Oh, sorry about page 21. I missed that. Page 21, number 1. Okay, so on page 21, you're going to click the train. So this is where we're training the bot. And again, when we train, we want to use the trainer HT, the top selection of the two. Yeah, I think that may have, this may have been inadvertently deleted from the, this may have inadvertently been deleted from the PDF. And the pop-up asks if you want to train using HT or TM. Why is that? So the trainer HT is a linguistics-based model. So it looks at things like the occurrence of word and co-occurrences and word order and things like that. Whereas the trainer TM is a machine learning-based model. So the machine learning-based model is better at making inferences from sets of utterances. But the problem is the machine learning, or the challenge is, the machine learning model requires a lot more utterances to be able to make those to be able to make those inferences. So what we say for a small set of utterances in our intents, like we have here, 10 or 15 utterances, which is not much, not enough for a deep learning model, we say use the linguistic model.
There is a person who's not going to be able to stay with us throughout the meetup, and they requested to get with us offline. Absolutely, would be happy to support any of your questions, and we can keep you posted for the future meetups we have. But you can also continue to finish this lab outside of today's slot. We are offering a trial period. Parinita has details on that. In fact, let me go back to the slide and show you that as well. And we can cut and paste. Pranita, would you like to cut and paste that into the question and answer section, please?
Yeah, I will do it in a minute.
Great, great. And if you want to just give a quick overview to the person on how they can sign up for it, please go ahead.
Yeah, the utterances are the actual, somebody asked about the different model, and when I say utterances, those are the sentences that we're typing into the intents. So literally, I mean, when I build a production grade chatbot and I think about an intent, I'll look for 50 to 75 intents, and I really want those intents to be what the users are saying to the chatbot, not what I think they're going to say. And here, what we're doing again, as I said earlier, is we're really kind of building a synthetic set of data where we're thinking that people are going to say, "What's my account balance?" And they may say that, but more often than not, people will come up with interesting ways to express a particular intent in their own words. And as we gather more and more of those utterances, we can use the machine learning model to better effect than the linguistic model. Somebody asked if the machine learning model will account for smaller variations. Yes, absolutely. That's the idea, and the trade-off is that you have to provide it with more training data so that it can account for those smaller variations. Yes, I want to order pizza would be an utterance.
John, someone asked about the training, like we get the pop-up asks if you want to train HP or TM. I believe you just answered that question, right? That was the one you're referring to?
Yep, use HT.
Okay.
That's the bug in the documentation sweat that does that graphic, I think, got deleted inadvertently from the PDF file.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Apologize for the issues in the lab documentation, guys. I think we had to update some information on the NodeJS, and something went amiss on the existing collateral. So apologies for that. Hey, Pranita, are you able to cut and paste into the Q&A, or maybe I'll just do it. Yeah, I'll just do it. That way it stays, because in the chat things seem to be.
Hey, I'm not able to create a question. I don't know why.
Interesting. Okay, let me try and put this. I don't have any questions, but I keep answering, and I'm assuming folks can all see the answers in the Q&A section.
I think it's the panelist cannot post on the QA because you can talk.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Well, I went ahead and posted the information you put on chat, Pranita, into the Q&A as well.
Thank you.
No worries. Oh, you're welcome. We would like you to continue. We would like you to continue playing with this platform if you find it useful, and we figured that would be easy for you guys to have some credits to begin with to continue the building of your chatbot. So
John is having a challenge on validating the YAML. Says it gets no response. John, look down when you click on the validate button. If you don't get that green check mark at the top, it's possible there is an error in the YAML, which shows up usually at the bottom of the window. It'll have a red X. And for anybody has got as far as the YAML, as Sweta mentioned earlier, it's really imperative that the spacing is accurate. So make sure you copy from the absolute bottom. I usually copy from the bottom to the top zip file or from the files within the zip file, and then paste it into the entirety of the editor. You may want to exit out and come back, John. Partha, I think the answer to your question is yes, if I'm reading it correctly. So, getting the ML accuracy up via the NLP. So, there's two ways I can answer that. The first thing you're doing is you're training the intent classifier, which is really the heart of the AI in this particular bot. You're training the intent classifier to recognize the ways that people ask for things like get my balance or track my spending. And you're using entities to further refine and allow the chatbot to understand, get my balance of what account? Well, that would be checking or savings. In a real world implementation, the ML accuracy is done by turning the bot on and then looking at the way that people are interacting with it via some of the reporting capabilities that candidly we don't have the time to talk about in this lab. But there's a lot of real-time transactional reports that are part of our platform that allow you to say, to understand and retrain your models basically in real time. Hopefully that helped. Michelle asked if the chatbot is temporary. You can, if you want to get that sign up for a test account, at the end of the lab, be sure to export the bot that you've built, and then then you'll have all of the files and you can import it into your own instance if you'd like. I don't think this test instance stays alive for very long, does it, Sweta?
No, I don't think I don't think it stays here for very long. Probably, Pranita, keep me honest, but I believe it's just probably for next 12, maybe 24 hours, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's about 24 hours.
Yeah. And so if you sign up for the trial, then obviously it will be available to you for a longer period of time. But otherwise, no. Sorry.
Yeah, you will receive the trial within 24 hours, most likely, if nothing goes wrong on our end. But otherwise, you can just import these files into the trial account and use it.
Yeah, Amit asked, what are some other frameworks that provide this I mean, I'm happy to have a coffee discussion with you. Amit, they all have this capability. I mean, this is foundational to Watson, Microsoft, Google. The intent recognition and entity NER named entity recognition are sort of fundamental capabilities of all chatbot platforms, at least the ones that I've worked with in my 7 years. Unable to resolve intent. You say you're getting that, it must be in the tester. Did you, Subhash, did you make sure to train the model by selecting the HT trainer before you tested it out?
Someone's asking how long is the trial period. Pranita, do you want to speak about how long is the trial period, please?
The trial period is about 30 days.
Okay. And someone else earlier, apologies guys, we've started getting quite a few questions. So getting to a few of them that we missed in the middle. I think someone was talking about wanting to build a academic chatbot, and they were asking for pointers. Honestly, there's quite a bit of material if you on just basic chatbot building, if you just search. But our platform also has a pretty good set of documentation on our website that will give you a very good overview of what is needed to build a chatbot. And then, of course, Oracle Digital Assistant platform has everything, all of that technology put together for you in one place. So you can try and build it over there. One thing I would like to say though is there is a lot of science behind how the conversation design is approached. Don, my friend, is actually really well versed in that, and we'd be happy to provide you offline pointers if and when you're ready to dig deep into that aspect of building a chatbot.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yes, absolutely. I think someone asked about where may you find resource files. Resource files in this lab, I don't believe we have put any additional resource files just for the sake of, that's really more for third-party APIs if you want to integrate. For this lab, to keep it simpler, just because the chatbot technology may not be familiar to everyone. We've actually provided more sample custom components, which you can cut and paste from the text files. So we're not really providing specific resource bundles, if you will. And if you meant from resource files, if you meant by the import of those text files, then that you can download from the tutorial, the lab files.zip. That's the resource file, just in case if I didn't understand what you meant. There was a question about whether you can export the bot. Yes, you should be able to export it, and it'll sort of get saved onto your laptop. The only thing is, I don't believe you can import it into other platforms. You can import it only onto the Oracle platform, and then continue to build on it. But yes, if you want to save it, you could export the chatbot.
Subhash, it looks like you're still having issues with that unable to resolve intent. Just to confirm, have you gone through the step where you add the YAML before add and validate the YAML before you try to use the bot? Because it sounds like the YAML's not responding like it should.
Yeah, actually, the link is all the links for download, like the tutorial download is right here. Let me I have pasted all these links in the question and answer section, guys, just because in the chat it's getting lost. But here I'm going to paste it again just for convenience.
And Sui, yes, absolutely. And Subhash, make sure that you replace all of the existing YAML with the text that is in the part of the zip file in the lab files.
Okay, someone changed they trained with ML first, and then they are trying to train the TM with the TM model, and they're getting unable to resolve intent error in that. That is a complicated one. Let's see.
Yeah, that unfortunately, again, this is the last version of our platform. What you may have to do, Subhash, is might be best to clone the bot, and Sweta, you can show them how to clone it, and then retrain it. It may be the case that because you trained it with a machine learning model, that it's even though you should be able to make the trainer HT active. I've never tested that, training one model and then trying to change.
I've been successful in some aspects, but try retraining it with the ML model itself first and see if you're getting the same error, because I'm not too sure if something went amiss in between. And then let me try and see how I can show you to clone the bot. Excuse me.
And while you're here, you might as well show folks how they can create it, download a copy of it, how they can, export it. There's been a couple of questions about that.
Okay, so let's see, sample. Oh, I didn't save my own bot. I think my bot got deleted. Give me a second, guys. Okay, I'll probably just take the pizza bot and then just show you guys. All right. So.
Okay. So Subhash, when you changed the model, you did retrain it on that model, correct?
When he changes the model, let me just try that first, because that's bothering me too. Let me try and do this. Oh, we have an exclamation over there, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, let's see if we can replicate that stuff. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The typical path that we see in production is that people start with the HT model, and then migrate and train on. Once they gather more data, they go to the machine learning based model, but usually start with the HT. So people don't typically go the other direction.
Yeah, and Partha just asked that exact question on the chat as well, right? Yes, that's what we typically see. People go with linguistic model first only because it's smaller set. You start with small set of data, and then you go expand your data, and then you go to the ML model. Going the other way is iffy, exactly because you can have overconfidence a model built with ML and then reverting back to the linguistic may cause some challenges. But I trained with TM first, so let me try and retrain with HT now.
And before you train, never. Okay, I was going to say you should try it out because he was experiencing the problems in that it wasn't able to resolve an intent. But let's see, maybe you just.
Mine has gone through. It's fine.
Okay, so now if you go to the try it out in the upper right, yeah, it's in the upper right of this version.
Yeah. I was like,
there you go.
Yeah.
And
okay, try to get the chat window out of there. All right. And then just say, okay, I guess no pasta today. Let's see, order pizza. But it recognizes, so it's working fine.
Yeah, and then try in the intent tab just for giggles.
Okay.
In the middle of the trainer, above the pizza picture. Okay. There you go, yeah.
Just to give it the, just happen to the data. Okay, all right. Order pizza. So that's in the intent tab, you do see the confidence on, so it's obviously, my retraining does seem to work. Partha, you may have some utterances that might be very similar, tied to two different intents, and that might be throwing the model off a bit. That's like the one logical explanation I can come up with on why going back and forth between the TM and HT model is not working. You can
John,
go ahead.
I was going to say, John resolved his own issue, realizing that it was Edge. Thank you. I would have never gotten there.
Don, do you remember where the option for exporting the bot is in the in this UI?
Yeah, if you have to go back to the main, use the back arrow under the home. There you go, and then you go into the pane where you see all the. Go to the take me there.
You want to do that? Okay.
There you go. It's the hamburger menu in the lower right portion of each of these panels. one of the options is export.
Thank you. Thank you.
There you
So if everyone didn't hear Don, the way to export your bot is to go ahead and click on this bot's icon under development. That will take you back to where all the chatbots are for this particular instance, and then find your bot, find your chatbot square, and then there is another hamburger here in the bottom right. If you click on that, you will get all these options of cloning or exporting the bot. Excuse me. Cloning basically will just create a replica of your bot in the same place. So if I clone the CRC pizza bot right now, it will basically, you can rename your chatbot. So you can give it a different name, but all your intent and entities will get cloned. So I will say, it's clone. And then if I say clone, now you see that I have a CRC pizza clone along with the CRC pizza bot. So if I click on this, it's the same exact bot, just under a different name, and I can basically just train it again. That's another important thing. If you clone the bot, you do want to train it again, and then you can make use of it. You cannot. The previous training does not transfer over into the cloning of it.
Right. Right. So that may be a workaround to that training issue. Let me knock down a couple questions. So Prachi, apologies if that's not the pronunciation. So you get an error that says you've spent $10 and then you're getting the spending category.value. You're starting to get deep in the weeds here, which is good. This is indicative of a couple of possible problems. It could be something in the YAML. You have to make sure to follow the instructions in the PDF very closely about replacing specific parts of the YAML. And again, making sure the spacing is all consistent. The other thing is, this is where the Node.js download comes into play. We have to make sure that we, our colleague has changed it up a little bit, so I don't know exactly how it works, but basically you're calling a custom component now. And the fact that you're getting that variable spending category.value response tells me there could be a problem with the call of the custom component. So those are the breadcrumbs that I can give you right now. Sui asks why when I send $200 to mom, it comes back for ask for balance. Again, I don't know I don't know the exact training data, but it's possible that send $200 for mom is not linguistically similar enough to the training data to trigger a particular utterance. So you're running into one of the challenges of small data sets with natural language classifiers. So it thinks the utterance "send $200 to mom" is an example of the "I want my balance" intent, when clearly it's not. One way to fix it would be to add that utterance to your training data, retrain it, and then it will work.
And the other, just a sanity basic check is do ensure that your system entity is actually linked to that intent. That knows to recognize the dollar symbol as well. So please do. I'm sure you've already checked that, but just in case, please do double check that. Resend the link to the instance from the slides. Check the Q&A, guys, but yes, I will resend it. 1 second. I'm assuming all of you are able to access, oops, excuse me. I'm assuming all of you are able to access the question and answer chat window also. If you're not, please try and please let us know, because maybe you're not able to see all the links we're posting there.
Yeah, Steve D says I'm encountering a spot of trouble. That typically is indicative, again, and a couple of other people have commented on the sort of painful nature of YAML, which is true. That's indicative of a problem in the YAML. I would recommend go back and either revalidate it or just copy paste from the file again. oops, I'm encountering a spot of trouble is basically a generic, it didn't know what to do. So it's giving you, it didn't know, the state machine, which is what is represented by the YAML file, didn't know which state to transition to. So it went to the end, the error state is typically where I see that error. YAML is painful, you're right, Prachi, and the harsh reality is the next version and definitely upcoming versions of our software do things to greatly simplify the YAML, mercifully so. And then someone is stuck on page 33.
Let me, while you do that, Don, let me go ahead and answer a entity. Someone said, Kumar, I believe, said he wrongly entered an entity, and should you revalidate and retrain, and how? Yes, you would want to. You can go ahead and unlink the entity, right? So if you entered, okay, if you entered in the entity, if you entered like a wrong value and stuff here, these options right here, you can delete them, right? Those are the way you can modify the value of the entity. You can also, if you linked the entity incorrectly over here with the intent, say for example, in my case, I linked this, you can also hit that cross button to remove it. And then you can go, well, in my case, I'm going to do that. And then you can say validate and then just to retrain, and you should be okay.
Yeah, no order does not matter of entities. I'm going to need a little more detail from I apologize, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the person that's stuck on page 33. I'll need a little bit more detail. And then, so Dubo, I believe, stuck on select CSV. Yeah, what you've inadvertently done is you've told the you've asked the bot to import sample data, which you can do from a CSV file, but in this example, we're hand creating the intents. So you need to add a new intent and then add the examples manually. And Sweat is on the page where you do that. You want to cancel out of that importing of a CSV file. That would be where you would upload, you know, hundreds of examples of multiple intents all at the same time.
Is this the and I apologies for not pronouncing your name correctly, but is this the SODUBO username? Is that the answer question you just answered, Don?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now Partha, to answer your question on the business value of Chatbot, that's actually a loaded question, but I'll give you my 2 cents on it. It really depends on what the Chatbot is intended for in the business strategy. I have seen cases where you know, there's a value addition for customer service type of interaction, where a lot of the informational and even basic transactional type of scenarios are created through chatbots and turned into self-help for users, and they find the turnaround time pretty awesome, and they don't have to wait into, you know, calling someone or have to navigate through pages and pages of information, and they can just purely ask a NLU question to the chatbot, and the chatbot's able to guide them the right way. But that also depends on the method and the quality of how that chatbot is created, and specifically how that conversational design is actually addressed. So that's one aspect in business strategy where there's a lot of value that chatbots typically provide. There is also, excuse me, just pure informational type of applications, or even predictive type of applications that businesses are beginning to look into chatbots providing value. Those, I would say, are yet in exploratory phases, at least as far as my knowledge goes. But I think in the next coming years, we would possibly see some growth in those areas also as business value. Google Maps chatbot, that is my dream would come true, because since Maps has come into picture, I've always wanted to just talk to Maps while I'm driving, saying, okay, change that or optimize my route. I'm I'm quite sure Google Maps has underlining AI, that goes through predictions. But the interaction, I think through Google now you can do interactions, but it's not as I personally don't find it as seamless that I can just start talking to saying, hey Maps, take me to work through the least traffic congestion route or something complicated like that. So no, not that I'm aware of. Okay, great, Prachi. That was good that you were able to add the entity and then it solved it.
Yeah, and KR commented about Lab 6, as I think I alluded to earlier. Lab 6, where we start talking about connecting to a mock backend service, that's really deep in the sort of sausage making of backend integration, and I agree. That's almost something that I think we've actually debated whether or not that belongs in this particular session. So in other words, folks, if you get to step 6 and you've kind of had enough, or if you'd rather focus on some of the other interesting parts of the platform, you can go through step 6. Really, it's really as much a typing exercise as anything else, candidly. I think everybody on this call can envision the notion of tying to a component service, which is hosted as part of the platform, which is one of the differentiators, by the way, of the Oracle platform as compared to, say, Watson or Microsoft or Google or others. The ability to integrate all of these different custom components. But really, at the end of the day, it's kind of a plumbing exercise in my mind. So don't sweat it too much with Lab 6 would be my recommendation. No offense to plumbing, of course, because we know how important it is.
Folks, if us speakers, we are obviously trying to answer the questions coming into the chat window, and everyone's listening to those. But if you guys need to tune us out to concentrate on the lab, please do so. I do have some folks saying, hey, they have to tune us out, so they're missing the question, and it's completely okay if you keep asking us questions that we've already answered. We do understand the virtual meetup can be a bit challenging interaction wise. So
yeah,
yeah, go ahead, Don.
I was just going to say that to me is not a problem. Like not a problem in the intent classifier, but in the YAML.
I think Don, I think you're breaking up. Can others hear Don properly?
No, it's comments. Can you?
Yeah, Don, you're breaking up, buddy. Try again, please. I think we might have lost him. Partha, yes, self-driving cars chatbot. I guess we have enough examples of, and it doesn't. My theory is very simple when it comes to the chatbot value in business strategy, right? The evolution of this chatbot's really just a step one in the evolution of this new interaction, is what I like to call it, because it's really natural, and it's more human-like, and that's what is what we're trying to get to, and that's where the value really is, right? And more human-like to start with has this ability to have natural sentences, or to be able to ask something naturally and not have to use the exact phrase or a menu item, right? And also the voice interaction that I can just talk to it and it understands it. We've seen enough of that. But more importantly, the intelligence on the other side of the system to comprehend what it is that I'm trying to do, and then to respond and act accordingly, right? And that piece is the real value add to the businesses. And I mean, be it self-driving cars or customer services or sales agents or anything, right? That's really the place where the value comes in from. I think I can write like papers on these things on applications and their values for this. But I think you get the idea that the fundamental of this is the intelligence and how that intelligence comprehends the user input and understands how to help the user in ways that other systems are not able to do so. That's really the value. Okay, there was another question.
So Sweta, do you have an answer to the variety of languages that we support? We're definitely not just English. We support a variety of languages. The implementation model differs a little bit depending on the nature of the language, whether it's character-based or symbol-based.
Yeah, and I'm afraid I'm not completely clear on that either. I do know that we support the translation services, like the Google Translator, systems like that, where we can use the languages that they support, and then our ML engines can still sort of convert that and utilize it. But the fundamental, languages that we support. I don't really have a clear answer on that. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, if you want to send us an email, we can follow up. I mean, there's two, just for folks' information, there's kind of two main and candidly very different strategies for dealing with different languages. One strategy is to build a bot, so do exactly what we're doing in this lab, build your intents, build your entities, build your dialogue flows, in a base language, so let's say English, and then when people want to interact in different languages, you use a translation service on the front end to translate from their language to the base language, let the bot do its thing, and then on the output you retranslate it. That works. That's okay. And then of course another approach is to build the entire chatbot in a target language, which tends to work better than the translation service approach. And there are a number of languages that we do support. I believe they're only character-based languages, however, but I would need to get verification on that. Somebody's having trouble copying. System isn't letting me copy and paste.
Yeah, that's a strange one.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it should be Control V should do the job. I'm a little lost why you're not able to copy and paste. Oh, you thought that after page 32 the lab was all over. Yeah, it's a little longer lab. It's as you all can see, this is the components of technology and how to tie things together to make that interaction. It's not a very simple thing. And so the lab, this is actually, believe it or not, this is our initial basic lab, and obviously it's a little long because the number of steps needed to enable a chatbot is this many at minimum, I would say. Don, would you agree with that?
I'm sorry, Sweat. I was looking at something else in the lab. Ask that question again.
No, that's okay. Someone said they thought that it was all over after page 32, like the lab. And I was just commenting that we do understand it's a little longer of a lab, but then that's the bare minimum steps needed to enable a chatbot, really. So. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, as I've only been with Oracle for 3 months now, but I've been doing this for 7 years, and I will say that while this is a bit oppressive for the first time, I mean, this is really it. I mean, and again, this lab gets pretty deep. Not only are you building a machine learning model for intent recognition, but you're hooking up to a custom component on the back end. And if you go on into page 41, which we're probably not going to get to, but you actually could deploy this bot to a Facebook page. And I lied a little bit earlier. I said that Node.js install was for the custom component. It's for the node is actually for the Facebook deployment.
It's actually, yeah, it's for the client. It's
yeah, exactly. So it's a lot, but it's very comprehensive.
Page 34, number 12. Oh, looks like Jess finished the lab. Great, I appreciate that.
Sweta, I have to step away for just about 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
That's all right, no worries. Thank you, Don. Partha, one of your questions was, how deep in semantics features for this chatbot, neural network features as well. I'm not quite sure I follow what you mean by neural network features. Neural net is really just one other architecture or approach in the AI platform building. So you can it's basically variance in different training models from a conversational AI point of view, but the elements of training these models with utterances and even semantically close utterances to ensure that these models have the right level of understanding from that language and concept point of view is where the art is. Our model, as you can see as of right now, does have the options of just the basic linguistic model that will say that I have a handful set of utterances and I can go with that. And then you can expand it into the machine learning model. Now, the machine learning model, the architectures is obviously the Oracle IP, so I wouldn't comment too much on how that's built, but there are various set of algorithms that go into building these models. So if you have a specific question on that, and if I didn't answer what you were asking, please try again. I didn't think I followed what you specifically meant by neural network features. So Sui, you did say my intent is correct, but every question still seems to be treated as if you were asking about balance. So what actually happens when you click on the play here and go into the intent tab over here and ask it the question, like, okay, I'll say, can I get pasta, right? And it will show you the confidence of which of the intents is it thinking, which level of confidence. So can you take a look at that and see if it's giving you, what type of confidence levels are you getting on that? Partha, yes, the algorithm is custom built, and that's what the Oracle conversational AI platform is, along with of course the UI to facilitate training, creating the utterance data or importing and things like that. You get 48% for send. What's your Svi, what's your utterance and what intents do you have? If you don't mind, just cut and paste that in the window. SL123 chatbot. I don't know if I have access to it, but let me see. 1 second.
Yeah, let's have a look at that, because that 48% is probably below the confidence threshold.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Oh, there is. All right. Let's see. More intents. Okay, so you have balances, send money, track spending. And in your balances, how much do I owe on all credit cards?
So the problem was everything thought it was balance.
Right, because the how much do I have?
So let's look at another intent, Sweat, and pull one of the utterances out of that intent and just paste it in there. So pay Lauren 15 for photos.
Come again?
Just grab one of those intents,
Right.
one of those utterances verbatim.
Right, right.
And paste it in the test pane, and let's see how it classifies.
Photo for rent on the first floor. Okay, it's not letting me cut and paste for some reason, so I'm typing. Bear with my typing. Okay. Okay, so well, that one went through. I'd like to send, actually, let's take up more. I'd like to send Sasha 20 for lunch. That also went through. By the way, one tip I might add to you, Sui, in the utterances, right? We typically don't put the entities in the utterance data itself. You basically just say, I'd like to send Sasha, for lunch or something like that. And then try inserting the entity, of course, after you've, let me close these things, excuse me. I have a window that.
Yeah, so what this is demonstrating is the intent classifier. When Sweta tested the send money utterances directly, and it came back with 100% confidence, which you'd expect because it's almost verbatim. The intent classifier is doing it right. I think the problem when you test the entire bot is it's related to the dialogue flow. It's related to the YAML.
Okay, I'm gonna try send 200 to mom. Oh, those are from the import. So Don, sounds like we did the Sasha $20 for lunch. Apologize, Shri. I thought that wasn't there before, Don. Was there?
Yeah, that's a whole topic in and of itself. We can talk about, including entities in the training data. That's a long conversation.
Okay, so I'm able to get 100% on the send money, which is what it should be.
Okay, now try that in the bot test. The tab, there you go. Send $200 to mom. Yeah, so this is definitely a YAML problem.
Yeah.
Go to the YAML, let's just take a quick look at it.
Yeah, because I think it's probably got to do with where the code is running through.
So there's a chunk missing here.
Yeah, states and intents. Yeah, you're missing.
I think maybe we inadvertently forgot, so we missed part of the lab. There's a whole chunk of the YAML missing here.
There are other files, says, but I don't really, which file is this? Don, do you know which file is this imported from? I'll get into.
Well, this one is, I mean, I can tell you it's missing the chunk after the intent. Yeah, so that there should be more YAML than that.
Sorry. Okay. Do you have the old lab collateral, Don? I know I have it somewhere. Okay, guys, pardon me for going through my directory here. I'm going to try and find the old lab collateral as well. Maybe the.
There you go. So there's YAML, but
no, that's complete. That's how it was always, even in the other one. Hey, sweet, stay with us. We're going to do this.
So there's those text files. Yeah, the text files represent YAML changes as well.
Okay.
So if you open up like custom print balance.txt, yeah. So these are all elements that, as part of the lab, you're asked to insert.
Right. But I think
that's not the URL.
no, that's not. Oh, well, sorry.
Go to the that one, start payment
Yeah,
text.
that's where I meant to click. And oh, you need all of this in your YAML suite.
Yeah.
Go to the steps where it actually talks about cutting and pasting this. This is what you're missing. It's the payment text. Let me make sure that the new lab collateral also has it, because I'm actually pulling this off of the old one. It should be there, but just want to make sure. This was the start payment. Yep, this is what you're missing. Oh, okay. So the direction only asks you to cut and paste one at a particular step. But as you further go along step by step into the lab, it will ask you to cut and paste from other files into the YAML. Because basically what the lab is doing is it's taking you, one step at a time, just giving you, now build the intents, now build the entities, now build the transactions, things like that. So that you might want to make sure that you go through all of the steps in the lab to make sure that all of the files are actually cut and pasted appropriately in the YAML. That's the tricky part, by the way, of this lab. Lowell, yes, you can use Facebook as your channel, and that's what that NodeJS install is. And when you get to that portion of the lab where you have the client set up, that's where you're gonna see the integration with the channel. And is there a way to improve confidence level? Patik, apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. You can add more utterances, more example utterances to your intents, and that will, and then retrain, and that will actually improve the confidence levels of your intents. KR, how do I fix the code section? You can, well, actually, before you revert that completely, go ahead and make sure that the alignment is actually correct in YAML. The spacing of, once you paste a snippet of code, ensure that it is in the right level of alignment, because that's usually the most amount of errors we have seen with new users.
Yeah, the unfortunate reality, if it's beyond just alignment, is, and this is a challenge that a lot of platforms have, and candidly, we've made some huge strides in the next version, and our next lab will be based on that version. If you make a change, it's permanent. It's instantaneous, and it's permanent. There's no sort of undo, unfortunately.
Yeah, you could, one easy way to do, to revert back though, KR, would be that you could just go to the first, dialog flow where it told you to cut and paste the entire YAML. Just start with that and just follow the steps again. I know it's a bit painful, but at least you'll have like a clean start instead of having to debug line by line. You could do that. Nandini, I hope you enjoyed your ride with us. Thank you for your interest. KR, I totally get your feeling new to code. I mean, I'm not new to code, but code can be tricky. So totally understand. The field with the name unresolved is not allowed in flow in 38. Don, will you do me a favor? 38 is probably the line number of your YAML code. Bomi, I'm answering your question. 38 is possibly the line number of your YAML code, but which step are you at?
Yeah, that reeks of a spacing problem.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's got to do with the spacing.
Yeah, if you want to tell us what the name of your bot is and what user number, we might be able to take a look at it in real time here.
Just okay, so we train first, right?
No, that's right. That's right. That's an error in the YAML.
38 unresolved. Sounds like we're missing a piece of code.
Unresolved should be under print balances. Yeah, that needs to be in 2 spaces, I think. Just put 2 spaces right where your cursor is, and that should fix it. Sorry, 2 spaces to the right.
To the, that's what you meant? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I think. Now let's see, transitions.
I don't think this is in the print balance. So return and then unresolved is actually back. It should be next to print balance. I think that tab, the tricky thing with YAML is the tab may be messed up somewhere else, and it ignored it, and it kind of comes to the point where it's, and then transitions. So now it's.
Yeah, but to your point, you just moved unresolved.
Yeah, I meant to move transitions out, and I kind of. Nope. Something's gone wrong. Within intent. No, transitions, I think this was correct. I messed up here.
This is in a print balance. So component properties and transitions. Oh, you know what's wrong? Account type.
You know what? Account type and these properties should be indented.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Yep.
That's what it is.
Properties and return. There you go.
And return as well, right?
Yep. Yep.
Component properties text return. Okay, let's try this. Nope, something else still.
And unresolved.
It's out, isn't it? Because it's a state of its own. Print balance and unresolved is out, I think.
Yeah.
YAML is fun. Component properties, and then we have the text.
Welcome to YAML.
Transition and return. That looks correct to me.
Huh.
From a tab point of view.
Man, I'm looking at the PDF file and that looks right. Print balance.
Steve said he indented transitions and return as well, and it worked.
And it worked. Huh?
And return as well. Okay. Oh, well, it's not working on my side, but I'm going to close it because it says it worked for you. So we might have messed up somewhere else in trying to help you. So I'm going to go ahead and close the bot. Okay, I think we're at the top of the hour.
Yes, can you hear me, Sweden?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I think we can stop over here, and all the attendees maybe they can finish building the chatbot at their own pace.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for your interest. Go ahead. Sorry, Minka.
Yes, you can talk. It's okay. Uh-huh.
No, that's okay. Please go ahead.
Okay, and just want to thank you guys for the amazing hands-on training, and I hope all the attendees have successfully built their chatbot. If they don't, and they can just keep working on it, and then thank you guys. Anything else you want to talk to the attendees, Vida or Don?
No, I really appreciate it. I have to say this went very well. I was a little bit nervous going into a fully remote meetup, having done many of these in person, and it worked really well. So appreciate everybody's patience and cooperation. I know that we didn't get to answer all the questions, and we got to look at the sausage making / debugging pretty deeply. So really appreciate everybody's time and energy. And I did put my email somewhere in the thread. It's don.mcginnis@oracle.com. Feel free to reach out to me if there's any further questions.
Okay, I think you guys did a really great job, and you guys answered almost all the questions, I believe.
By the way, I think the best way we can continue the discussing for some support is join the Slack channel. If you guys can join the Slack channel, and all of the document, the files, the conversations is centralized, saved over there. So that one can keep everybody connected.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you,
and
everyone.
also, if you want to work on